Okie dokie. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. Today I want to do a bit of a fun video. I want to rank the books of the Bible in a tier list format. Yeah, I just thought it would be a bit of fun to give you my thoughts on the Bible. Nothing serious, but yeah, I thought I'd enjoy it. So let's give it a go. So I'll go through the books in chronological order. So our first book is Genesis. And I think Genesis is not S tier, but I think I have to put it in like A tier. It's really, really good. It's where you start. It's the start of the Bible, the start of the story, and it's quite well paced. And what is going on, the actual happenings, the telling of Genesis is quite interesting. Yeah, I think it's a pretty easy A tier. I'll shuffle these around at the end to put them in a certain order, to make sure I'm happy with the order. But yeah, I think Genesis A tier, not quite top, but yeah, good. Exodus, hmm, Exodus is not as good as Genesis in my opinion. You'll be hearing my personal opinion, of course. This is not some objective tier list. It's based on my opinions, my feelings, and my interests and values. Yeah, I don't like Exodus as much. As soon as we get into, and I don't mean any insult at all, I'm talking about as the persons, groups, tribes are presented in the reading of the Bible and as I understood it, and how I personally feel towards the happenings or the people. That's what I'm going to be talking about here, which I think is the fun of a tier list, is hearing someone else's point of view and opinion. I don't like Exodus as much because you start getting into the Israelite problems and their complaining, going out of Egypt, all the wonderful blessings that they had from God, and they just find a way to whinge about everything. So yeah, Exodus goes down into B tier for me. Like, it's still quite good and quite interesting, but it's yeah, some things happen in there that I'm not too fond of. Especially one of the things is at the end of Genesis, I believe, is where Joseph, so Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Joseph. Joseph, I really like out of the four, and the fact that his memory and like what he did for Egypt and Israel is like forgotten so quickly in such a short amount of time. I was not a fan of that. And then you basically start Exodus with, oh, everybody's forgotten about Joseph and all the wonderful things he did for everybody. Oh, I guess we'll enslave the Israelites. Okay. It's just, again, that fall into like the stupidity and lack of gratitude of the human race. That's just, yeah. Not that Adam and Eve didn't start that pretty quickly in the garden. Uh, Next, Leviticus. I think I have to put this again a tier lower than Exodus. Now, I'll probably arrange these into tiers. I'll just put them in order and then I'll bump them around and whatnot because I'm very picky in particular. But yeah, Leviticus is all the law. Interesting, but very, very dragged out. God's like, oh, here's 10 laws and they'll suffice. And then Moses is like, oh, here's 613 more, or however many it is. And that's a bit of a drag. Interesting, because I understand how the laws helped early humanity to stay healthy and safe and separated from sin and disease. And the more I read that and understood that, like things being unclean, like literally not, it was just like a real safeguarding law, a law to safeguard the people of Israel. So I think it's quite worthwhile for the time when it was, and very clever laws too. Some of them. Numbers, no, I don't really like Numbers. That goes another tier. That goes, is it D tier? Is Numbers D tier? Yeah, I could put Numbers in D tier. Not a fan. And then Deuteronomy. Yeah, I'll put that still in D tier behind Numbers, because Deuteronomy is just like a rehash of so much of what came before. And you basically, well, for me, I'm just like, I've read this all before. Like, why do I have to do this? It's like doing the same homework all over again, but written slightly different. So I wasn't a big fan of Deuteronomy. Not a lot new happened in there. Joshua's pretty good. So we're going to bump up a tier again. Will we go to C tier or B tier? Let's go C tier. It's not as good as Exodus, in my opinion. It is better than Leviticus. So I'll put Joshua in front of Leviticus. This is where the story, the history, retelling of history picks up again. Yeah, I like Joshua as an individual, how he's written. He still has, love for God and faith and trust in God, and he does some good things. This is where you really start to get into the fighting and the wars and the conflicts with Joshua, starting a lot of that, going into the land of Canaan. But yeah, so it starts to get pretty violent, which is not my cup of tea per se. I don't mind it, but yeah, I'm not a war fan or a gore fan of any sorts. But Joshua's definitely pretty good. Judges. Judges is interesting. I'll say that. Like that time period before Kings, but between Moses and the kings of Israel, you had the judges. Yeah, interesting time. Because the judges were kind of just like the champions. Like, oh, you're very good at killing people. Let's follow this guy. Let's put him at the head of the Israelite people. Yeah, but there was definitely some interesting people in there, like Samson. I like Samson's story, even though he's a simp. For anyone who doesn't know, the slang simp just means like someone who does anything for women, bit of an idiot for women. Yeah, Judges, where do I put that? Is it better than Joshua? Ooh, I think it is. I think I like it because Joshua's a little bit slow. Judges is a bit more entertaining. It's a bit, that's all it really is. It's got a lot going on in a quick amount of time. Is it B tier like Exodus? Nah, it's still in C tier, in front of Joshua. Ruth, here we go. This is on B tier stuff. Coming out all the violence and where you start to get start to see the true colors of the Israelites. Ruth is the first breath of fresh air that I found in the Bible. I'm going to put Ruth in B tier. Now, I do have a bit of bias in regards, because this is my opinion reading the books chronologically. So from Genesis all the way through to the Old Testament, and then through the New Testament. I've read other books, like books individually in the New Testament several times, but in the reading order that I did, coming out of Joshua and Judges into Ruth, is like, oh, finally a bit of femininity. So I like Ruth. It's short and sweet and simple, but yeah, it was nice. I prefer it over Judges and even Joshua. First book of Samuel's or the first book of Kings, depending on your translation. Now, I love everyone, but I still love the Israelites and our Jewish brothers and King David and Solomon, but I do not like them. There is a distinction. Like, I'm not saying I'm like God, of course, but God loves everyone, but doesn't mean that he likes you, doesn't like what you do, and definitely things are hateful towards God. The Kings, this is where I was not a big fan of going into Kings, and it just goes downhill. I feel like most people would agree. Things just get worse very quickly. So first Samuel, or the first book of Kings, focuses mainly on Saul and David and Samuel the prophet. Where do I put it? Ruth, Judges, Joshua. I'm going to put it in front of Joshua and behind Judges in C tier. I think this is really where the melodrama of the Israelites and the Old Testament really starts to kick in, and I'm not a fan of melodrama. And then you got 2 Samuel, which is the end of David's life and starting into King Solomon. I like King Solomon less than than David. David mucked up once and God chastised him for it, and he apologized and did a good penance for it. and then came back and was humbled by his experience. Yeah, Solomon, no, not so much. 2 Samuel. It's definitely not as good as Joshua. I'm going to put it behind Leviticus in C tier. Is it as bad as Numbers? No, Numbers was a bit, at least Samuel's a bit interesting. And I prefer the telling, like in a chronological format of the story of history of the Bible. So whenever the pace breaks up with like Deuteronomy and Numbers, where they explain a bunch of things and how the temple is built and all the different materials, I don't find that very interesting in comparison to finding about human life and history. But 2 Samuel or 2 Kings, C tier, the end of C tier. Now, 1 Kings, depending, or 3 Kings. Yeah, this drops off. This drops off real quick. This is where, Solomon passes on, and then after Solomon dies, the kings and the royalty just nosedives so quickly. Yeah, I've got to put it in E tier. It's in, and then do I put 2 Kings or 4 Kings, depending on your translation, in F tier? Ooh, do I do it? No, not yet. So I'm going to put 2 Kings behind, or 4 Kings behind 1 Kings and E tier. Chronicles. Now, Chronicles is like the Deuteronomy of the Kings books or the Samuel books, and they're already like my least favorite. So Chronicles has got to go. Is it F tier? I don't want to. Feel like I need to put like an E minus. Is it F tier? Yeah, I think these books suck. I do not like these books at all. I already didn't like, as I said, the 1, 2, 3, 4 Kings, or 1, 2 Samuel, 1, 2 Kings. And to go over them again in that same repeat fashion, I didn't want to do that again. I did not want to go through that again. So I'm going to put them in F tier. 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles. Ugh. And then, our second breath of fresh air, and a good one here. Yeah, this is good. This is one of my favorite books in the, at least the Old Testament. And coming out of like 1, 2, 3, 4 Kings and Chronicles, I did not like them. I did not like those books. So coming out of those, anything was better. And these were so much better. Ezra, or Esdras, it was so good. Such a breath of fresh air. Because his writing style, or the writing style, I'll just say his, because I don't know who wrote it, is so much better. Coming out of Babylon, I prefer the Babylonian experience versus the Judah-Israel experience, because there's just, like, it's more civil. There's a bit more intellect and common sense going on. It was such, the writing styles between the 4 Kings books and Chronicles versus going into Ezra or Esdras is massively different. The writing style, the intellect, it's just so much better, way better. So where do I put Esdras? For me, it's got to go A tier, especially coming out of like the drag that was what came before it. I like it better than Exodus. Is it better than Genesis? No, I can't put it before Genesis. Genesis is great. But it's going up in A tier. It's so good. And Nehemiah, or the second book of Esdras, is going right behind it as well, because they're just one after the other. Apparently they're written by different authors, but the writing style is very similar. So if it was written by different people, it's like master and pupil kind of situation. Yeah, the second book of Nehemiah, second book of Esdras or Nehemiah, is just takes straight afterwards. It's like a direct sequel, as far as I remember. And it has that same wonderful writing style of the Persians, Babylonians. They're coming out of Babylon. Yeah, a lot was learnt in that 70 years. Like a lot of culture was gained, if I had to say. So way better. Now, the book of Tobit or Tobias, I like this one. This just goes back to that wholesome writing style, just about a family and about God's love for the family. This is a great book for young men. This is a great book for young men and young women as well, because Sarah in there, it's a lovely story about what happens to Sarah and the difficulties that she goes through, but how God is, his providence is taking care of her, his love for her. They're a really nice couple. I love their marriage, how they go about that, and how Saint Raphael and God directs them to go about the purity in their marriage. So the book of Tobit or Tobias. Ooh. Now it's A tier. To me, it's A tier. Does it go in front of Genesis though? Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. Probably make a few people mad there. I'm going to put the book of Tobit or Tobias in front of Genesis, so it's the highest tier right now. Because a lot happens. There's such wonderful things that happen in that. Now Judith, is that how everybody says it? Book of Judith. Yeah, she's our main heroine of the Old Testament, at least. I like this one. Now again, pretty violent and gruesome, but it's an adult story. It really is told well. Oh, so Judith, where do I put that? I think it's better than Exodus and Ruth. Yes, better than those. Oh, it's up there. A tier. Yep. I think I'm gonna have to put it up the very top. I love it. There's books about female lead characters, and I enjoy those. They're certainly refreshing because they're like sensible compared to the stupidity that are men. I'm gonna put it all the way at the front. I love this story. It's got a lot going on. It's got that feminine side. It's got that chastity and that love and trust for God, and then that courage that Judith shows in comparison to the rest of the Israelite people that she's with. And then it's got your not that I care about the violence, but just to contrast it. Like blood on a wedding dress kind of. That's a bit macabre, but yeah, it's beautiful. She's not some macho warrior. She just has a lot of faith and trust in God, and that's where she draws her power, and she stays humble afterwards. It's beautiful. I like it. I'm putting it up the top. Okay, Esther, another lovely story. Not as good as Judith. Better than Ruth. Yes, I do like Esther more than Ruth. Not as much as Judith. Where does it go? And this is a lovely story. I'll give a little rundown on each thing. Lovely. It's like a love story, political love story. Yeah, I like it a lot. I can really feel for Esther, what she goes through. Yeah, pretty tough. Okay, I think I'll put it in. Well, I will put it in for now. B tier, behind Exodus, in front of Ruth. Yeah, I'll do that. Job. Oh, Job. Now, Job. First thing I'll say is if I had to recommend a book for men, all men, married or otherwise, old or young, this is probably one of the top ones I would recommend. It is such a good story of patience, and trust in God, and just being humble and holding your tongue. Oh my goodness, it is such a good story. And most people, if you're living a good Christian life, you're gonna cop it. The cross is gonna be heavy. This is such a good story of how to bear your cross and why God does what he does. And it, to a lot of people, is confusing, right? I'm not going to do a deep dive on it. It's such a good story. This is not a deep dive on it, on all of the books, but as much as I want to go into it, Job is great. I'm putting Job all the way. Is it S tier? Ooh, is Job S tier? Yes, I'm going to put Job as the first S tier book. It is like the middle part of Job. Job has like an amazing start, an amazing end, and then the middle, where he's just back and forth with his friends, is really dragged out. It's like, what, 36 books or something? It's 36, chapters of just back and forth with his mates. It's really dragged out. Like you could shrink that down. But but the payoff at the start and the end is so good. Is so good. And I love how it gives insight into like why God does some things, and the fact that he's just like, well, I'm the master. I'm God. I'll do what I want to do, and I know what I'm doing. And the relationship or the interactions between God and Satan, I find that very interesting. It's like one of the only insights between Jesus and his fasting in the desert. It's a really intriguing interaction. Anyway, there's so much to learn from the book of Job. I'm putting it in an S tier. Yeah. Psalms. Oh, Psalms. This will probably upset a few peoples, or maybe, yeah, people as well. Psalms, in my opinion, is, it's not edifying at all. I want to say garbage. To me, Psalms is garbage. It's like reading Justin Bieber lyrics. It's just so, look, and I understand Psalms are lyrics written to be sung and composed with, stringed instruments or wind instruments in a language where a lot of the nuance and rhyming or whatever the things that make music beautiful, that's lost in the translation. Like, I get that. Like, even if you just read English lyrics of a song, you might love the song. You read the lyrics and you're like, this is boring. This is uninteresting. Yeah, because all of the components that make music, because you don't even need lyrics for good music, you're taking the least interesting part of it, the lyrics, out. I do not like Psalms. I don't find it edifying at all. And King David whinges so much in his Psalms. Sure, he also, praises God and trusts God and knows that God's got his back, but oh my goodness, it's just so much whinging. Now, I don't have a good memory of the later Psalms. They're just they're just droned out. The first half. Anyway, I won't go into it too much. I don't like Psalms. I think that I understand it has its place. I have to. Psalms I do not like at all. Do I prefer it over Chronicles? Which one would I read again? I would read Chronicles before I'd read Psalms. Psalms is going at the very, very end of F tier. I'm sorry if that upsets people. I know people love their Psalms and their songs, but I believe people give Psalms a lot more credit than they have. And you might be thinking, oh, you just don't get it. You don't understand what's going on in there. Well, yeah, I do. Anyway, I'll leave it. Psalms, not good. Proverbs. Proverbs isn't bad. Proverbs is another book that if I was going to recommend, like like a self-help book, Proverbs would be the very first thing that I'd recommend. Short, sweet Proverbs. Now, they're not like written in stone like the words of Christ, but they are helpful for sure. I think this is Solomon. I believe it's written by Solomon. And when I say I believe, it's because I wasn't there. I don't know. And, you have... Anyway, I believe it was written by Solomon. King Solomon, I should say, sorry. Yeah, they're pretty good. I'm going to put Proverbs in B tier after Ruth. The book of Ecclesiastes. Oh, goodness. I think this is the worst book in the entire Bible. A part of me thinks, like, why was this even included in the Bible? And my personal opinion is because I believe it's written by King Solomon. It seems like his writing style. And again, I've read these books, but just because someone says that they are someone doesn't necessarily mean it's the case, because you can have pseudoepigraph, where someone is pretending to be someone else, where the authorship isn't actually by who it says it's by. Anyway, I personally think that it's written by King Solomon, and I personally think that it is written during the time where he was getting stuck into idolatry with his 700 wives and 300 concubines. This book is such a whinge fest. This is such a vanity of vanities. Oh, everything that man does under the sun, what value does it have? Shut up. This is such a worthless book in what it writes about. I think the worth and the value of this book is to show the consequence of sin on a man, and the consequence of sin on not just a man, but a wise man, and not just a wise man, but a wise king who has been blessed by God with said wisdom. I think this book is in here, Ecclesiastes, to show even the greatest of men or kings, once they give in to sin, they become like beasts. They become like any other fool. And it's not edifying. If anything, it's a detrimental book. If you were to read it and not understand the context, who it's written by and when it's probably written in that person's life and the other things that person did, it would be detrimental. Like if someone just read that book on its own merit and isolated, oh man, no, that you'd come away with worse ideas and behaviors, and yeah, it's not good. This is easily F tier. I put it in like Shadow Realm tier for all you Yu-Gi-Oh nerds. But I'll just keep it simple. It just goes at the back. It's like F- tier. It's so bad. I don't like it at all. Song of Songs. Also, I'm pretty sure done by Solomon. Now, again, like with Proverbs, I think this was written in the time when he actually was following that wisdom and not jumping into sin like a swimming pool of excess wives and excess gods. Song of Songs is nice. I like it. It's a very romantic expression of the love between spouses. I think I'll put the Song of Songs, Canticle of Canticles, also as it's known, behind the Book of Esther in B tier, in front of the Book of Ruth. Yeah, I'll put it there. I like it. And the Song of Songs is very intimate writing as well. Like, to me, that makes a lot of sense that it would come from King Solomon. But I liked it. Book of Wisdom. Yeah, I like this. I like this even more than Proverbs. So Book of Wisdom, I think apparently it's written by King Solomon. I don't think so. The writing styles between Proverbs, Canticle of Canticles, and Ecclesiastes is very different to the Book of Wisdom and Sirach. Now, Sirach is obviously written by, I think it's Jesus, the son of Sirach, the son of someone, the son of Sirach. I wouldn't be surprised if the Book of Wisdom is written by the same guy. The writing style between the Book of Wisdom and Sirach. Sirach is also known as Ecclesiasticus. Yeah, the Book of Ecclesiasticus. I think they're probably written by the same person or people that, like with Esdras and Nehemiah, very similar people, very close people. Wisdom is good. It's like a grown-up version of Proverbs. Proverbs is more simple and useful, but once you've done Proverbs, the next step up would be to go to the Book of Wisdom, and then Sirach or Ecclesiasticus after that. Yeah, I like Wisdom. Where does it go? To me, it's not as good as the Book of Esdras and Nehemiah, or 1 and 2 Esdras, or Ezra. Exodus. Oh, it's contending with Exodus. I like it more than the Book of Exodus. I think it has more value than the Book of Exodus. It also has more value than the Book of Ezra or Esdras. Does it? Yeah, I think so. But to me personally, it's not as good, not as interesting. I preferred those other books. So B tier, front of B tier, the Book of Wisdom. Book of Sirach, it's right next to it. It either goes right in front or right behind. And the Book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach and Wisdom, they are so similar to me. It's really hard for me to pull them apart. Like, they've just melded they're very similar. And they're both great. So I put them right next to each other. I couldn't say which one was better, one or the other. So I'll just put them in their chronological order, but they're both good. Oh, now we get on to the prophets. Talking about melding together, especially with a lot of the shorter books of the prophets. My memory, and I've even gone and read back spoiler. Yeah, I've gone and reread the books, not in their entirety, like jumped over to like refresh my memory, because a lot of the books of the prophets meld, they coagulate for me. But I'll try and remember to the best of my ability. So I won't be as sure on a lot of these books of the prophets. Isaiah, yeah, pretty good. Judges. Now, the books of the prophets, unfortunately, I think they have decent value. I love the prophets. I love, what value they have as people, chosen people of God, blessed people. But trying to understand the prophecies is difficult. Even once you've read the entire Bible, it's still hard to understand. I feel like a fair bit of interpreting has to be done, which is not always the greatest. But anyway, it's very poetic or artistic writing, a lot of imagery. These books will probably be placed lower than I feel like they should be, because I think they have more value. But in regards to reading and enjoyment and what value they actually bring you as an individual, I think is a fair bit lower than the other books. So Isaiah, I'm going to put Isaiah in C tier, in front of Leviticus, but behind Joshua. Jeremiah I preferred more. I like Jeremiah. I'm going to put the book of Jeremiah again in C tier, behind Judges. I think Judges is a bit more interesting. Jeremiah definitely deserves more praise than any of the Judges. But in regards to the value and interest of it, just, general things, it's it is where it is. Lamentations. Oh, this is top tier poetry. Out of all the poetry in the Bible, this is it. Lamentations by Jeremiah. Oh, this is great. Wait, it's better than the Song of Songs for sure. Canticle of Canticles. Canticle and Canticles. Where do we put it? Lamentation. I'm going to put Lamentations all the way up in A tier. It's not S tier with Job, but I'm going to put it all the way at the front of A tier. I think it has more value even than the book of Judith, and I love Judith's story. Yeah, Lamentations is really good. It's weighty. It's so weighty. It to me it put into aspect in an understandable but poetic way the consequences of Israel and Judah's, the people of Israel and Judah, their actions. It's like, these are the consequences of what you've done. You didn't listen. You haven't listened for a long time. You didn't listen to me. And now I'm living in and observing a world that is suffering the chastisements and the consequences of their sins. Oh, and it hits hard. It hits so hard. I like it a lot. Baruch. Oh, I do not remember very well the book of Baruch. And this will be the case with a lot of, as I said, I already said this. I'm going to put it in D tier, at the very front, in front of Numbers in D tier. Because I think it has more value than Numbers, for me personally anyway. Ezekiel was pretty good. Better than Isaiah? Yes, I think so. Better than Joshua? No. So it's going to go in front of Isaiah, but behind Joshua. Daniel is really good. The book of Daniel is really, really good. Ooh, I'm going to put Daniel in S tier. I really like Daniel's prophecies and the fullness of his story and writing. And there's a lot to be gained there with like interpreting, how to interpret prophecies and visions and whatnot. It gives a lot of insight. So I think it's a very educational book. And very interesting too, especially with his interactions with King Nebuchadnezzar, or Nebuchadnezzar, as I don't like. It's not a good transliteration of the name. Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, Book of Daniel. Is it better than Job? Yeah, I think it is. I think the Book of Daniel is better than the Book of Job. As much as I'm a Job fan, I think the Book of Daniel has so much meat on the bone. Okay. Hosea. Yeah, I have to put this. Baruch. Hosea. I think I'll put Hosea just in front of Baruch in D tier. Joel. behind Hosea, in front of Baruch. Amos, I preferred Amos a bit more. Better than 2 Samuel? Yeah. Better than Leviticus? Ooh. No, I'm going to put Amos between Leviticus and 2 Samuel, or the second book of Kings, in C tier. I remember Amos fairly well, but it's too short. I wish there was more. Obadiah, Obadiah. I'm going to put him behind Baruch in D tier. Jonah, this is good. Better than Jeremiah. Ooh. I think I'll put Jonah behind Jeremiah, book of Jeremiah, in C tier. Book of Micah, yeah, I'll put that down in D tier as well. Behind Baruch. Nahum, I'll put that behind Obadiah. Habakkuk, don't remember very well. I like his name though, so let's put it behind Obadiah, Abdiah, Zephaniah, or Sophoniah. Yeah, I don't remember very well. So let's go in front of Habakkuk, behind Obadiah. Haggai, Agai, the guy, behind Zephaniah in D tier. Yeah, Zechariah, Ziki, Zach. I'm going to put Zechariah in front of D tier, in front of Hosea. Malachi. Yeah, Malachi's pretty good. Better than Amos. I'll put Malachi in C tier, behind Amos. Oh, Maccabees. Here we go. Now we go back into some big meat. The fact that, I'm not going to talk about different Bible. No, I'm not going to do it. The book of Maccabees. 1 Maccabees. Oh, yeah. Is it A tier? Yes. Yes, it is. Again, there's a slight bit of bias coming out of I like the prophets books, but getting back into that historical writing I like, and it's good historical writing, not like the Kings and Chronicles books. This is after your exile in Babylon, and when they got a bit more culture and education, it seems. 1 Maccabees, I really like. It's got to be A tier. Better than Judith. Is it better than Judith? Yes, it is. Better than Lamentations. Yes, it is. Is it S tier? Yeah, I think it is. Is it better than Daniel? No, I don't think it's better than Daniel. Is it better than Job? Yes, I think 1 Maccabees is going up in S tier. Oh, yeah, my brain just goes, everybody, is it a real book? Is it apocryphal? You do that and the other. Oh, I'm sorry. This is such a good historically written book. Sure, it might be biased. Sure, it might be not accepted as scripture by some people. I don't care. The Catholic Church says so, and I'm going to follow what Big Boy Peter and Holy Mother Church says. 1 Maccabees is so good. It's so well written. It's like if all of the books of... No, I was going to say if all of the King's books were written like that. No, because Maccabees is written about people who love God, written by actual Israelites, and they've become Jews at this point, who love God and who are obedient and fight for God, go hard. And it shows the political landscape before Christ comes. It's so useful. I think these books, if you're a Protestant or whatever, if you haven't read the first book of Maccabees. The second book of Maccabees is not as good because it's a summarization. It's a summary of the first book of Maccabees, and it makes that clear too. It literally starts with, we're going to put the first book of Maccabees into a compressed form so it's easier to understand for the people. But the first book of Maccabees is so good. It's so good. It just, to me, it really shows how you went from things before the Romans to things in Christ's time. Like that gap, that missing gap of what happened before the Romans came along, and then how do we get to where things were in Christ's time with the high priesthood and how things were and all that mingling and like the loss of Israel, and it's all anyway, with all the Pharisees. This book highlights all that. It's so good. Anyway, I won't go back into it. First Maccabees, S tier. Second Maccabees, not as good. I'm going to put the second book of Maccabees in the B tier, all the way at the front. Yeah, I'll put it there. Even though it's a retelling, it still gives a bit of extra information, and it's still telling the same very informative and interesting story. Oh, we're on to New Testament. Let's go! New Testament's where there's stuff. Matthew. Oh no, here I am like, oh, New Testament's so good. But I feel like compared to some of the Old Testament stuff. Now, the New Testament is so much more useful than the Old Testament. So much more useful. And of course, common sense, because Christ comes along and be like, whoa, you guys are kind of missing the point. Let's perfect the law. Let's perfect our understanding here. Correct your misunderstandings and bad behaviors. And of course, it's more intelligible, especially Paul's stuff. All St. Paul's writing is so good. It is more useful. But I still might not put it as high, because for me personally, maybe it's not as interesting, but definitely way more useful. New Testament's better, edifying, much more edifying than the Old Testament. Matthew, still pretty good. Matthew is probably my favorite out of all the Gospels. It's probably why it's at the front too. I'm going to put Matthew in A tier, behind Lamentations, in front of Judith. Mark. I personally don't think the book of Mark is as good as Matthew. It's shorter, not as detailed. Yeah, it's kind of like 2 Maccabees to 1 Maccabees. It's better than the book of Wisdom. Yes, I think it is better than the book of Wisdom. I'm going to put it in B tier, behind 2 Maccabees. Luke. Prefer Luke over Mark. Yeah, I like that Luke, even though it's not a first-hand account, went and basically talked to everyone, like, can I make the full picture story, which I think is very useful. Ooh, I'm going to be respectful to Luke. I'm going to put Luke in A tier, behind Genesis, but in front of Ezra or Esdras, even though I would really like Esdras' writing. John. Gospel of John is okay. It's not bad, but I prefer the other ones. I think it's better than Mark. Is it better than 2 Maccabees? Yes. Is it better than Nehemiah? No. I'm going to put the Gospel of John in B tier, at the very front, in front of 2 Maccabees. Acts. Acts has a lot going on. I think Acts is, obviously it's all the Acts of, not all of them, but telling of some of the Acts of the Apostles is good, but I didn't find it as interesting. I prefer the Gospels. You know what? Now that I'm looking at it, I'm going to put Acts at the front of B tier, in front of the Gospel of John, just because it has more content in there. It's not rehashing some things we've already heard from Matthew and Luke. Romans. Now, the Pauline letters. Pauline Hanson. The letters of St. Paul are some of the best. They're the most educational parts of the whole Bible, in my opinion. He really knuckles into the law, the understanding, the confusion. Yeah, he really goes. It's really like the start of the church. He makes a very good example of the start of the church and how things should be done. In saying that, with a lot of the letters from Paul to the churches, again, like with the books of the prophets, they're very similar. Well, that's not exactly true, but they cross over in my mind. And I went back and had a look, but trying to figure out which of my favorite parts came from which book. I couldn't remember entirely. But Romans, I remember liking that quite a lot, because it was interesting to hear him talking to the previous pagans. Romans, where do you go? I'm going to put the book of to the Romans behind Genesis, in front of Luke in A tier. Oh yeah, I think I'm just going to put basically all of St. Paul's letters, because it's hard for me to really specifically knuckle out which ones I prefer over others, because each letter has something that's so useful and stand out that all the smaller bits in between might not be as edifying, but each one has just a nail that just hits so hard. I can remember I didn't like Hebrews as much, but still there's something in all of them. So what I think I'll do is put all of the Pauline epistles between Genesis and Luke. And I'm just going to put them in their written order. Now, the letters to Timothy. I'm going to put the letters to Timothy just behind Luke. Between, is it better than Esther and Nehemiah? I don't remember liking the letters of Timothy as much. I think they're good and useful, but not as educating as the other letters. So I'm going to put them actually first letter to Timothy behind Nehemiah, second letter of Timothy behind the first. Titus, I'm going to do the same thing there. Philemon, I'll do the same thing there. Hebrews, I'm going to put Hebrews back into the original set in A tier behind Thessalonians. James, yeah, I'm going to put James's book behind Mark's. Peter's, where do I put Peter's? I'm going to put Peter's in front of James's behind Mark's 1 and 2. Compared to Acts, yeah. 1, 2, 3 John. Ooh, I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 John in front of even his gospel, in front of Acts even. I'm going to put all of John's letters behind Acts in B tier. Jude, yeah, I'm going to put that around where James and Peter are, in front of wisdom. And then Revelation. Can you guess? Absolute Bible nerd like me. General. Revelation is my favorite book, easily. It goes all the way to the tippy top. I'd even put it in like an S+ tier for, I could be bothered, but it's a bit dramatic. Yeah, I think like the common reasons why people like Revelation is the reason I like Revelation. It's talking about our time, what to look out for when Christ comes back. All the exciting stuff that that we can look forward to in our timeline. So to me, it's that. Plus, what is written in there is very interesting, very dramatic. Yeah, and it's the finalization of the book. Yeah, easily my favorite. I've read it a lot of times. Cool. So that is my objectively correct. Nobody else can argue because I am the that's my tier list. It may be a bit dragged out, but there's a lot of content in the Bible, so it's a short version. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. You're welcome to tell me I'm wrong, and I'll just delete your comment. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, as I said, just a bit of fun. I felt like doing it. I feel like it's a bit longer video than it should be, but I have feelings about the Bible and about God. So I tried to keep it as short as I emotionally could. Anyway, all the best. God bless. Love you. Catch you later.